Hi, good afternoon, thanks for joining me. Mark here again on this glorious sunny day. Now before I do start the video, I'd just like to apologise in advance if you can hear any kind of road noise. There's a road roughly 2 miles over in that direction there, and a farm about a mile behind me here. And the only trouble is this time of year, once we do lose the leaves off the trees, that noise does carry. So again, apologies in advance if the camera's picking it up. Now for those that watched the last video that I did touch on the subject that I do review about a knife that I've been carrying for the past couple of years, and that's the Lt Wright Genesis. Now for any of you that know anything about LT, you know, you realise that the knives that he does make over there in the States are absolutely phenomenal bushcraft knives. So what I thought I'd do today is just talk a little bit about the knife, the spec, a little bit of carving, and also a bit about blade maintenance. Just running through the general spec of the knife. We're looking at an overall length of 9 inches long with a cutting edge of 4 1/4 inches, 1/8 A2 steel, so it has got a bit more chrome in it compared to your 1095 or your 01 tool steel, so it certainly helps with edge retention and also any kind of rusting or patina that the knife may get, certainly if you're spending a few nights out in the woods. This one in particular, highly polished Scandi grind. Now when I first purchased the knife, LT was only making the Genesis with the Scandi grind, so I'm led to believe now that you can get it in a full flat or also the convex grind, but I do like the Scandi. Like we'd expect with all bushcraft knives, full tang with a 90-degree spine so that we can use it for processing wood and also scraping down on your ferro rod. The handle, green bead blasted micarta. Now this one's kind of taken up a bit of the dye out of the sheath, so it's got a bit of a brownish colour to it now, which is certainly no big deal to me. I've just turned the knife over. You can just see there the scallops which have been cut out. Again, just makes things just a little bit more comfortable, again if you're scraping down on your ferro rod or perhaps skinning game and you want to choke down on the blade. Little lanyard hole just at the back and the 3 fisheye bolts, and whatever LT does with these, everything as well has been bolted. There's also epoxied together just to make sure that that thing is never going to come apart. Again, you know, some people like to use the knife for processing wood, you know, whether you want to use a baton with it and smash down on it. I certainly believe that these knives can hold up to pretty much everything that you throw at them. Just going on to the sheath itself, again US made, just like the knife. 6-ounce leather. This one, like they all will do, they come with either the dangler option or you could wear it just with your belt, just running through that loop there. Now you can actually take the dangler off if that's what you want to do. You've got a coach bolt there with a little slot in it, you could just unscrew that, that would come apart. But what I prefer to do, I just fold it down, and that way then I've got the option of being able to either have it just through the main loop or through the dangler, dependent if I'm wearing a coat or whether I just want a little bit of movement going on with the knife. On the other side, we've got a loop for your ferro rod. Now it will take a 3/8 ferro rod. This one in particular here is one of Fat Bob's again, but it will certainly take a lot more fire if that's the kind of ferro rod that you're using. So starting off, nothing too technical really. I am spending the night out tonight, so I could just do with a few stakes just to help hold the top down a little bit. Now length of that probably roughly about 12 inches long, green hazel. Diameter roughly around about the same diameter as my thumb really. So just starting off, I'll just a number 7 notch. Just bat my way down, probably around about a third of the way, just into the piece of wood there, and then just cutting down, just getting to the stop cut. And as you can see there, the sharpness and the Scandi grind really does want to cut into that wood. clean that out just a touch. And then just on the top here, just crown it just a little bit, just to help stop it from mushrooming out as I bang it into the ground. And if you wanted to, you could just take that edge away there. Again, just stops it from actually splitting and breaking just on the notch, just as you're pounding it in. Now, one thing that's always handy is a decent mallet. So this is something that I always make just at a camp that I get to, or when I first set a camp up. You know, it doesn't take too long just to make something that you're going to use quite frequently. And just on the other end here, just a quick simple point on it. Got to be nothing special. The ground here at the moment is quite soft. Again, you don't want it like a pencil really, you know, that would be more than sufficient. If I was going to keep any kind of these stakes long term, you may just want to just put those under the ashes and the fire, just start to toughen out that end there, but this would certainly do for anything I'm going to be using it for today. Just referring back to the general spec of the knife, which I said at the beginning about the Genesis being full tang. Now, I'm in the school of thought of if I need to use a baton to be able to process firewood, then that's what I'll do. I certainly expect this knife to hold up to any kind of abuse that I'll give it. So some people don't like the idea of it. You know, if I brought an axe, I would use an axe, but I've only brought the knife with me for today. And again, being realistic, just make sure that the wood that you're cutting or battening through is the correct diameter. You know, there's not much point in using a 4 1/4 inch cutting edge and try and cut through 5 or 6 inch diameter wood. So what I've got here is just a piece of white poplar, nothing fancy, around about 3 inches in diameter maximum, and just using the mallet. And if I can just show you what happens as the knife's going through the wood, you know, with that Scandi grind, and also the diameter of the metal, or the thickness of the metal, is that cutting edge is no longer touching the wood as it's going through. The knife itself is actually opening up that timber, so there's no chance now of actually damaging the cutting edge as that knife's going any further into the wood. And again, you know, being confident enough with these kind of knives that it won't cause any problems whatsoever. So after that wood's been split down, one thing that I like to do is make feather sticks or curls. Certainly if the conditions are wet or the wood's wet and I need to get into the centre of the dry wood there. Now there's a couple of ways of doing it. Some people like to hold the knife and pull back with the wood, or some people like to hold the wood and push down with the knife. Now, depending on the length of the wood and the type of the wood is dependent on which way I will do it. So just for this piece here, I'm going to hold the knife and pull down on the wood, making sure that the angle's nice and shallow, just so that you can start getting these curls. Don't worry if you lose a couple just at the beginning there. And one thing that you can do is actually change the angle of the blade. So if you've got the blade with the tip pointing up, the curls will go in one direction. With the blade going straight, the curls will go straight, and if you have the tip of the blade going down, that'll cause the curls to go in that opposite direction. So just speeding up the process, just turning the wood as I'm doing it. and then we could actually cut them off and use that to whether with a ferro rod or with a cigarette lighter, just to help get the fire going. That's certainly not going to win any prizes in the feather stick beauty competition, but just giving you a close up there. There's some nice fine curls, and considering like we've been using this knife to batten through that wood, this A2 steel is holding up brilliantly. Just going back to the spine of the knife, like I was saying, we use it for scraping the ferro rod and also processing the wood down itself. So things like where we've just made the curls, a little bit of a quicker option if need be, would actually just use the spine of the knife and just actually scrape into the wood itself. And just create just some nice little scrapings there. Now, unlike fat wood, there's no resin in this, so I'm not sure how easy it's going to go up, but we'll give it a try with the ferro rod, and again using the spine of the knife. It's got a bit of a flame going there, and then just a few of those curls that we made. So, as you can see there, just within a few seconds, you could actually get a small little flame going, which would help to get your fire going as well. When it comes to maintaining the steel, like I was saying, this A2 steel is very forgiving for any kind of work really. That extra chrome in the steel, I think it's around about 5%, certainly helps to retain that edge, but also helps to stop any kind of rusting or patina. Now, as you can see, just a little bit of marking, and that's pretty much all that's happened to this knife, with a little bit of battening and a little bit of cutting and a little bit of scraping that we've done. But when it does come to maintaining the steel, certainly if I'm out for more than one night, you know, maybe I'm here for 2 nights, 3 nights or a week, it's always you know, advisable that you've got a way of sharpening your knife, but also protecting the steels and that kind of thing. Now, this knife itself, believe it or not, has never been on a stone. It was razor sharp when I brought it, and it's razor sharp now. All I actually do with the knife is strop it when I get in. So the kind of things I like to bring at the Bushcraft show this year, I actually picked up a nice little field sharpening kit from the guys at Beaver Bushcraft. Now, you get various things inside them. I'll just empty it out here, and I'll just run through the kind of things that I do carry, and also how to maintain the edge, but also just a little bit of protection just on the knife itself. Now, for years I carried a DC4. I still do carry it. It's more of a backup really. Now I've got the other items in this field sharpening kit. When it comes to stropping the knife, like I say, it's not been on a stone ever. When it comes to stropping, it's always advisable to get yourself a decent stropping compound or a polishing paste or whatever it may be. For years I've been using the blue blocks or the green blocks of a polishing compound, but when I got the kit, it came in with a tube of Tormek. Now, I've never come across this stuff previously. Years ago we used to use Autosol, and the grit ratio on this is around about 8,000 grit. So in the kit itself, if I just take out the diamond stone, what you've got there is 1,000 grit and 180. So any kind of chips on my axe, I may go with a 180 and then 1,000 after, just to give you that final edge. And the same again would be with your knife, 180 or 1,000, and then stropping with 8,000 with the stropping compound or the polishing paste. The items that you do get in one of these field sharpening kits, it comes in an heavy duty cotton canvas bag. little stropping block there, the Tormek compound, diamond lapping fluid, and also the diamond stone itself. Now in all honesty, it's not very often that I bring out the lapping fluid. That's something that I do when I'm sharpening knives or sharpening axes in the house. I just find it, you know, that I don't want to be carrying too much stuff around with me, and if this stuff starts to leak, then it's going to make a mess everywhere. But basically what the lapping fluid is, it's an oil, but it's unlike a lot of oils, it actually evaporates. So the idea behind it is, as you're sharpening your knife on the diamond stone, it's actually lifting the swarf off and just giving you a cleaner cutting edge at all times. So that there tends to stay in the house. The Tormek I carry just in a little pot here, just inside there. Again, just keeping down the size of the items that I need to bring, and also the little strop will come with me. But again, you could also use the back of your belt if you've got nothing else really to strop your knife or strop your axe on. So the strop that I do use is a larger strop, and when it comes to putting the compound on, you need very little of this stuff. So I'll just squeeze it, just so a little bit comes out. In fact, that bit there is just way too much, so never wanting to waste anything, I'll just pop them back in the tin, because all that would happen if I use that is there's too much of the paste on there, and it would just spread and the knife would just slide off all over the place. And then what you want to do now is just rub it just into the leather. And if you just give that a second to dry, and then it gets a bit more gritty. And then, just like any other kind of stropping, unlike sharpening a knife where you're actually going to push down, find your angle and push down, with a strop you find your angle and you just draw back. Now, unlike using a stone, you don't have to be as precise. And just as you're coming down to the tip, just lift up, and that then will make sure that you get the entire length of the blade. And I roughly do around about 20 or 30 each side, just alternating. And then again, I like to concentrate roughly on the first or the back third of the knife, because that's where most of the processing gets done. Now, the beauty of this kind of the polishing paste, one of the reasons why the knife didn't look like it was 2 years old or why it hadn't been through the mill, is the fact then that you can actually use this compound just to get rid of any of this staining. So you could either use your finger or just a little bit of cloth. And what I'll do is I'll just put a little bit of the paste on. Again, you don't need a great deal with this. Just moving the strop out of the way, and just with the cloth there. And as you can see on the cloth how it's gone black, it's obviously there just removing just a very fine surface, and also all the grime and any kind of resins that you may have on the blade itself. And then just wiping that off. Just brings that nice up, really nice. And again, when I've stropped it, it helps maintain that mirror finish. Not that that's detrimental to the knife, but like I say, I'm not the richest person in the world, and these things do have to last, so I do like to look after my equipment. And also I'm a firm believer that if you look after your equipment, it'll also look after you in the long run. Now, one other product that I never heard of until I brought the Lt Genesis was something called Ballistol. Now, Ballistol, I think, is a German equivalent of our WD-40. Now, the beauty of this kind of stuff is you can use it on metal, you could use it on the handle, you could use it on leather. It's food safe. Now, just bringing me back just quickly, just regarding the Tormek. If I was going to be using the knife purely for using to process food, then I perhaps wouldn't use Tormek. You know, the thing with Tormek is it does leave a film on the knife, which also protects the knife against stopping it from rusting, but there might be some kind of residues that you may get in any kind of food and that kind of thing. So again, you perhaps want to think about using vegetable oils or olive oils just to help to just to stop your knife from rusting, just by wiping it over with something like that. But again, Ballistol is food safe, so there's no big deal really if you want to use that on your blade, if you're going to use your knife to process food. But another thing that the Ballistol can be used for, just giving the rag a quick squirt, would be just to protect any metal work on the knife. You could also use it on firearms. It also works on wooden gun stocks, that kind of thing, as well as the metal work. But also, it's good for leather. It waterproofs your leather and also helps preserve it. So really, it's a one-stop product really. You can either use it for protecting your knife with, protecting your leather work with, protecting the axes, protecting your guns. So for those that haven't seen it before, it might be worth checking out. I'll just give you a close-up there. The Ballistol Universal Oil, it's called, and this stuff you can get from Amazon, no problem at all. That's where I brought this stuff from. Well guys, that just leaves me to say thanks a lot again for you stopping and watching the video. Hope you found it enjoyable and informative. I hope I may have shown you a couple of products which you may have not been familiar with, which is the Ballistol and the Tormek. Certainly worth buying and certainly worth keeping in your kit to protect any kind of leather or metal work. For those interested in perhaps the field sharpening kit, you can get those from Beaver Bushcraft. I'm sure if you just Google that name, Alan and Mark's website will come up, and they also do a lot of leather products, natural tinders, fire lighting stuff, that kind of thing. Like I mentioned earlier, I am staying out for the night, so I'm just going to get the fire lit behind me and get a little bit of food on the go. So until next time guys, take care and I'll see you again.